Well, here we go again for round 2. It's been a while since I made a very long comparison video between the DJI Osmo Action 3 and the GoPro Hero 11. Back then the DJI didn't have 10-bit colors yet, and that's by far not the only update it got. To be honest, I didn't get the best comparison footage this time. Can you guess why? Yeah, the sun hasn't been out much the last couple of months, but I still managed to find some colorful locations like this kid's playground, and I hung around there like a total creep. If you haven't heard yet, the Osmo Action 3 got some huge updates. You could call it the Action 3.5. That's how much it improved. 10-bit isn't even the most impressive. So I want to show you what it can do now. That's the reason why I'm making another comparison video. While I did get some bike riding footage, I did use a tripod for most, so I can compare the DJI to itself. And I did figure out some new settings I want to share with you. I'm using them with an ND filter, but you can use them without. I'll include a quick example clip at the end. Okay, back to what's new. The 10-bit color option is now available for the D-Cine-like colors. There's an enhanced image quality for the normal colors. And then there's a separate HDR mode, which is awesome. So here's a list of the most important new features. The shutter speed range is probably my most favorite of all. There's a new small field of view setting and even an improved Rocksteady setting, which I don't think was necessary because Rocksteady 3 was already incredible. But there's also a downside to HDR mode and enhanced image processing. And that's the hit on battery life. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. In fact, still better than the GoPro. But I have to mention that you lose a bit of battery life and the camera gets a little more hot than before. This is actually the only time I could get it to overheat at all. And that's with it sitting on my desk, going full performance mode. So probably not what you're going to do with it. Let's get into my other favorite topic. If you've seen the previous video, you know that I wasn't so happy with the exposure hunting on the DJI. It swings to the extremes pretty drastically, either underexposing or overexposing a scene. You can see what I mean compared to the GoPro Hero 11. That was basically before. Now let's try HDR mode. What do you think? To me that looks like a huge improvement. And if you didn't know, here's a little trick you can do on your GoPro to have it correctly exposed for whatever you want to have in focus. Press and hold on the screen and the square for exposure metering pops up. You can pull that wherever on the screen and the camera will expose for whatever is in the center. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about the updates. Let's get into the actual comparison shots, shall we? I tried to get a bike riding shot as well, but it didn't quite work as I expected. Simply because the scenery kept changing, so that's basically the only bike riding clip I got. Again, I'm going to have the Action 3 on the left and the GoPro Hero 11 on the right, and I'll only keep changing the settings on the DJI so you can get a feel for what it does. I'm basically using manual settings for both cameras. They are the exact ones I used last time and basically the ones I use all the time on these cameras. If you want to look them up, I'm going to have 2 links in the description. And here's how the DJI compares to itself, swapping through the settings. So here's the only indoor shot with artificial light. I'm including this one because you can see a lot of green shades and how those color profiles compare. You can also see what the enhanced image quality really does. To me it looks like a little more contrast and a lot more sharpness that's added on top of the already colorful normal profile. Again, as you can see, the 10-bit colors are working with the D-Cine-like profile only, which is a flat profile that's ideal for color grading. And in comparison, the HDR mode seems to add some saturation on top of the higher dynamic range it provides. I got a few more examples for you to check out. I'm gonna let them roll without any commentary, and I'm gonna check in with you at the end, where I tried some different settings and even caught some sunlight, believe it or not. Alright, thanks for sticking around or jumping to this bit. In any case, anyone playing around with ND filters knows how important shutter speed is. So being able to set a minimum shutter speed is a big deal. It basically means you can reduce ISO and still have good stabilization, even on the rowdiest trails. If you ever check my recommended settings, you notice the ISO is in the 1600 to 3200 range. That's pretty high, and the reason is to keep the camera from lowering the shutter speeds so much that it can't stabilize properly anymore. But now you can simply set the lowest shutter speed to 1/120 and ISO to 800 and get even better footage. On a chest mount I would still recommend 1/240, like I'm doing here, and then bump up ISO to 1600. So for all the nerds out there, this is a big deal and something my GoPro 11 cannot do. So now that I figured out how to get a stable exposure on my DJI, I'm going to be using it more often. I've also updated my recommended settings that I always link in the description for you. But that's it for this video. I'll see you next time or in the comment section.